Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. This episode, out with the old, in with the new. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help you save time, money, and aggravation. This edition is entitled, Out with the Old and In with the New. To help me explain this, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy John. John, what's been going on this week?
Whip! Happy New Year! Here we go, baby.
Are you hungover still?
No.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
No.
All right.
No. I'm here. I'm excited. In the house, baby. Ready to go. And we're in the studio south.
That's right. Here we are live at the Handyman Pros Radio Show studios in Milton, Georgia. Yeah. So what's been going on this week? Anything exciting?
Well, I was steam cleaning my my house upstairs where I do have carpet, and that's always fun. And
you have a weirdly warped sense of what fun is.
Yeah, that was, boy, you can just put the headphones on and just go at it and, listen to podcasts. But especially this one. But, it got me thinking, though, that, the turn of this year, I've got to do some new things up there. And, one of them is I want to replace some flooring up there.
Yeah, replace the carpet.
So that's something I'm going to do, and that's something we can talk about. But start to plan this year out.
Well, yeah, and that's so. My lovely wife and I, we have been doing that. We do a year-end, beginning of the year plan, if you want to call it that. And so it's kind of the same thing. It actually brings us to the topic for the day, because what we do is we sit down and we plan out what our anticipated expenses for the year are as far as our home maintenance budget goes. And so these are we got John and I got talking about this. We're like, yeah, let's do this as a show. It's kind of a good idea, first of the year kind of thing, and we'll go from there. So, John, what kind of organizational things are you thinking about for the year? We break our stuff down into a couple of different categories. Do you do the same thing?
Well, yeah, I'm going to look at it this way. I'm hoping, but I'm planning.
Hope is not a strategy, by the way. But keep going.
But I'm hoping not to have to buy any new appliances.
Oh.
But that is something I will plan for. I do have some old appliances, but I pretty much got my arms around the ones that I have and the repairs on it and everything else, and that's something we're going to talk about. But I've done most of the repairs on those, and I've kept them limping along for probably about 30 years now. So it's just a challenge. Honestly, it's just a challenge, and I'm not giving up. And
so, he's resolute, folks.
Yeah, my wife wants new appliances. I said, I'll just keep fixing the ones.
We can still fix them.
Yeah, we can fix them.
These haven't died
I get more parts over the internet and keep going. So,
so it brings up a couple of things. First off, we're talking about year-long planning for the home, right? Like, so what are we planning on doing? And I guess some of the things are that when we talk about it is what are maintenance items versus what are upgrade items, I guess. It's kind of one of the ideas that we're talking about.
That's it.
And so, I know in our case, our house needs to be painted. So we have actually already budgeted for that paint job this year already, knowing that sometime this summer we're going to have the house painted. It's a maintenance item. That's truly a maintenance item.
Yeah.
Our house is starting to show a little, there's cracks in the paint and things. It's time. It's been 4 or 5 years since it's been painted. And here in Atlanta, Georgia, of course, if you're not painting every 5 years, you're pretty much missing the boat.
And pretty much that's just about everywhere.
Just about everywhere.
When you think about it.
Yep.
When we used to live up north, that was, boy, the weather would really shrink and expand, and pretty soon you've got issues.
So that's that. We also are talking about doing an upgrade as well. So we wanted to upgrade our kitchen countertops. We want to actually go to granite. Yeah, finally, right? Yeah, they're circa 1980.
Those church tables you got in there?
That's right. Oh, you've been there, I take it. But so that's some of the things that are the differences between upgrades and actual maintenance items.
Right.
And so, John, when you think about maintenance items, what do you think about? So paint was one of them. What else?
Yeah, the thing is that the big ones like I was talking about. My appliances. I'm going to be looking around my house for during the changes in temperature for leaks. That's who knows where leaks are going to be coming from. I need to keep my arm around that, and that could be, up in the attic. I'll be going up there, taking a look up there.
Yeah, it's a good tip, isn't it? That
so just please, when anybody out there, when you get a heavy rainfall, just
do yourself a favor.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and just go up there and flash a light around and see if you see anything dripping in, because now's the time to catch it before it comes through your ceilings.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I actually was in a job about 2 weeks ago, and the job was I've got a stain on my ceiling. So I look at the stain on the ceiling. I'm like, what's the root cause, right?
Absolutely.
What's actually causing that? Well, obviously, I get up there above. They had a crawl space up above there. Well, they've got a roof leak, and the roof leak is actually it's a condo. It happens to be in a condo, and I'm like, yep, I'm hands off on this one because it's a condo leak. I go, this is the condo, and it was actually under builder warranty anyway. Long story short, they're getting it resolved through another source. I'll end up fixing the ceiling for the drywall. But all of that, when I got up there, all I did was take a flashlight, and sure enough, I could actually see where the water was running down the joist and then was dripping to where it was actually dripping. And so when you get a heavy rain out there, folks, it's just a quick tip. Take a flashlight, go upstairs and up in your attic, up in your crawl space, whatever you have, and flash it. You'll see if it's leaking, and it can be a very minor leak, and it, like I say, it can run down those joists, and you can see where it's coming in, and you can fix it before it causes big damage. Didn't you have a story about going up there and didn't a raccoon jump on your head or something?
No, I haven't. Fortunately, I haven't. I haven't run into any creatures and critters like that that I would say that were dangerous. If you kind of run across them and you scare them,
it's a little unnerving.
But I've run across.
I've had squirrels.
I've had squirrels up there, which and I run across those, and they don't. Now you get yourself in a position with a mama raccoon with the little ones, and you got yourself an issue. So,
you need to vacate the premises.
That's when you call in the guys that love to do that. So,
and that's not us, by the way.
No.
If you're in North Atlanta, no, we're not handling that one for you.
You got to watch that one video. The guy who actually captures the raccoons with his bare hands up in Tennessee. It's like, are you kidding me?
Is there banjo music in the background? Because it sounds like
it must be. I mean, he was in a. I think the one I saw, he was in a barn up in a barn, and the raccoons love to make their nests up with the hay and stuff, and. Guys up there, I couldn't believe it.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, no way.
So back on vermin. So, is there a way to tell if there's vermin in your roof?
Yeah, if you hear them scamper around.
Besides that, so I've been up in several of our properties, and there's been infiltration by either squirrels or mice. I'm not really sure, or rats, whatever. But they drill little holes in your. They drill like tunnels in your insulation, and you can see them. I mean, it's not really that hard to look. You'll see them, and if you've got that problem, it's time to either call an exterminator or set some traps or do something. But anyway, keep a look when you're up there checking for your leaks. You want to look at that. Yep. It's just kind of one of those things, and what we're talking about is yearly maintenance items. We're big on maintenance here. I mean, I know I am anyway. Mm-hmm. And basically, I like to be preventative in my stuff. So it basically is our idea of kind of trying to save you time, money, and aggravation, heading these problems off before they become big problems or emergency problems. John, you were talking about your appliances, and kind of one of the things we were talking about with appliances before we did the show was the ability to plan your appliance purchases versus having it fail and all of a sudden it becomes a critical, emergency type situation.
Well, that's the thing. I don't like to get caught. With something like that is just unexpected. I mean, it does happen. It does happen. One day, your refrigerator's not working.
Believe it or not, they have finite lives.
And, yeah, they do. And it's nice to be able to plan for it. Listen, if you've got an old refrigerator, and I'm one of them, so I kind of I don't specifically have an account aside for it, but, I'm kind of planning on it. But I think, this could be the year where I'm going to be looking at a sale on these things.
Tell the truth. Your refrigerator was made during the Eisenhower administration.
No, those were actually good.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Those things I had.
You had one growing up, didn't you? Yeah, so did I.
I got one down here.
You got one down here. That's right.
So,
it's got a beer tap in it, by the way, folks. Just telling you.
Yeah. But it's nice to be able to go out and get something on sale.
Well, yeah,
And you plan for it instead of getting caught from behind saying, "Hey,
gotta have it.
went out," or my washer and dryer just went out, and those kind of things. So I think for planning for the year is I think you need to be honest and take a set of honest eyeballs around your house and start to look at these kind of things
on the appliances for sure,
because you can save yourself a whole lot of money. I'm not advocating you go out just to do it, but you can save yourself a whole lot of money if you could find something on
many hundreds of dollars are easily available on the sale things, any of the big box stores. So that's kind of what like we're talking about. We're trying to give you some tips out there that are going to get you try to save you some money and time and aggravation. I don't like surprises. I hate surprises. Yeah. I hate it. We are working on, this is just for our audience to know, we are working on a document that's going to give you an idea of how long things last in your house. And appliances are some of the more, I don't want to say difficult, but there's some of the things that are very, very finite. For example, a refrigerator lasts about 13 years. We're going to publish that out. Give us a bit. It's a pretty massive document, actually, but we're going to publish that out, and you'll have an idea. But, for example, your concrete driveway has a lifespan of about 40 years. Your roof has a lifespan of about 20 years, 20 to 30 years, depending on the type of shingle that you use or the type of roof you have. If you have a metal roof, you got a lifespan of about 40 to 50 years. And if you're like John and you're very wealthy and you have a slate roof, you have a lifespan of about 400 years. Yeah, right. Believe it or not, about 400 years on a slate roof.
I live in a shack like Shrek.
It's a cave. Come on, tell the truth. But anyway, we'll publish that information out there. But there are lots of things around your house that you have to look at on a regular basis. So we're big on water infiltration too. And one of the things I always tell people I do this about quarterly, right? I walk around the house and I look underneath the sinks. Right? And what am I looking for? I'm looking for any kind of drips, any kind of water drips. They can be from the drains, or they can be from the actual supply lines, or anywhere where water's above it, right? Because when we go out on jobs, John, and I think how many jobs you've been on, you open up the cabinets and underneath the sink, it's a mess. It's all the wood's all it's rotting or it's just coming apart, and it's because somebody had a slow leak and they never addressed it,
right?
And so it's a simple thing to do. And half the time, most of the time, it's the drains, actually, because the drains are on those slip joints, and you just tighten up the slip joint, and all of a sudden your little drip goes away, right?
Right. Well, everybody stores all their stuff underneath their cleaning materials and everything, and it's easy to hit those things when you're taking it out, putting all the bottles and cans and jugs and jars and everything back in there. And like you said, it's a slip joint on those on the P traps and stuff, and you can loosen those things up.
So since we're on radio, or since we're over the voice, right? Let's explain what a slip trap is. So underneath your sink, a slip trap is actually when you tighten it up, you can loosen it up, and you can actually slide it up and down, right? So it moves up and down, and you can tighten it or loosen it or tighten it, and as John's saying, when you put things in there, you'll hit them and you'll loosen them up just a little bit. And as they loosen, then they'll leak, right? So all you have to do is just turn it and tighten it up. It's just it actually is a ring and a clamp, and it clamps down on it, and it actually tightens a rubber gasket up into it's not rubber, but it's synthetic material. It tightens it up to the pipe, and voila, your leak is no longer. So these are the things to look out for. And if you have a supply line leak, like if one of your hoses leaks or something about then you have to take care of right away, because that's under pressure. So that'll actually blow and flood your house. Right. You don't want that. So,
what else are you looking at, Larry?
Well, mostly I'm looking at the inside of your refrigerator to see if there's beer in there.
Yeah, but I saw that earlier.
We did the attic. Oh, I'm a big believer in number one. Like I check the water pressure in my house every year. That's because I have this thing about PRV valves or pressure regulator valves. Yeah. I just published the article not too long ago on the pressure regulator valve. But I always check my water pressure once a year. Now most people don't do that, but I do that.
And where can that article be found, Larry?
It's at handymanprosradioshow.com on the blog. Just go to the blog and you'll find it. But some of the other things like I want to know in my house, I want to know where things are, right? So I want to know, like, if I need to shut the water off, where can I shut the water off?
Absolutely. Now we're getting to another portion of that topic, which is really good, is knowing where everything is.
Exactly.
Water, electrical, all your systems, in case anything, first and foremost, if anything happens, right, from an emergency standpoint, be able to turn off your water.
Right.
a lot of people don't know where those things are.
Can you tell me your shower story?
I can.
John and I have a very intimate relationship. Yeah. We talk about the shower,
Well, like I was telling you that my neighbor, they had a tree guy over there, and they hit the water line going in from the street to the house, and
yep.
And all of a sudden you see it bubbling up through this front yard. And these guys left. Yeah. And these guys left, and I told my neighbor, I said, "Hey, you've got an issue.
Yep.
And you got to get that done right now." So he called the guys back. In the meantime,
John,
I was upstairs.
Else.
I go upstairs to get cleaned up, and I'm in the shower, and I'm all soaped up and everything, and all of a sudden the water goes off, and I thought, what the heck is going on? Well, long story short, I come to find out that the guy, he turns my water off instead of his water. So here I am.
Did you play the lottery that day?
I'm like, I'm sitting there, with a towel. And I'm trying to get all the soap off of me. I'm throwing on my shorts and stuff, and
you have no water in your house at all.
I have no water, and so I'm yelling out there, and I hobble out there, and I know the tree guy, and I'm like, "John, hey, you turn my water off." He goes, "Oh, your water?" And I said, "Yeah, my water."
water.
I said, "Take a look. I look like a wet, skunk or something." It's like, what the hell?
With soap dripping down your head. I could see it. That's such a beautiful sight. But so the point of this story is know where your things are. How many different places in the house can you turn the water off, right?
Lots of places.
So what John's talking about is the main water supply, which sits out on the street. Okay. It sits out on the street. It's usually in a box that's underground, and it's a quarter turn valve, and it's out somewhere out on your street. But it would be helpful to know where that is, right?
Right.
And then there's another place where the water line actually comes from it goes from the street up a supply line, which is what your neighbor broke.
Yep.
Goes up the supply line, and then it goes into your house somewhere. And usually it's in a basement or a crawl space or something like that. It just depends. Goes into that, and there's usually a shutoff valve right there as it comes into the house. So that's another place you can shut it off. Now that might not be readily accessible, or it might be. It just depends. Usually there's shutoffs where else? There's usually shutoffs underneath sinks. Next to toilets,
right?
Anywhere where there's a valve, there's all valves all the way around. Hot water heaters, lots. Good idea to know where those are, just in case, right?
Yep. And you're lucky if you have all these shutoffs.
Yes. And that's a good point.
Because in the older homes, they didn't have all these shutoffs. So if you don't know where your main shutoff is and you have an issue, you're going to have an issue.
Flood is what you could have.
So
you could have a flood. So it's that. So let's talk about one of our other favorites, right? Electrical panels. Mm-hmm. Hey, do you think you could turn the power off in this room?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. 72 breakers later, hey, I found it,
Right. So that comes to mind, and we'll be talking about this, in more detail. But one of the things I find all the time, and even when you and I were out at the one job, it's really, I don't find many breaker panels that are properly labeled.
No, I don't know if I've ever found one.
And that is a real problem, folks. And it's really something to try to get your arms around at some point, is understanding your breaker panel and how, what breaker controls what. Because when you have an emergency or you have a trip breaker, it can take a long time and magnifying glasses to try to figure out how the electrician who initially installed it had labeled everything.
Yeah,
so
here's an interesting.
It's a time to familiarize yourself. Just walk downstairs, walk up, wherever it might be, and even take a picture of it so you have it and put it somewhere. Yep. So at least you're familiar with it, because you don't ever really look in your breaker panel.
Take some masking tape and truly mark them properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's an interesting story, right? So I'm in doing a job the other day for a guy. He needed some switches swapped out, which is no big deal. But anyway, I'm doing this job, and the guy has the original electrician had the breakers really nicely labeled, except for one thing. So he labeled, all the labels were in order, but they didn't correspond with the numbers that's on the breaker box. Right, so he had from
Okay.
the top part of the breaker box was was 1, 3, 5, right, 9 down to like
Right.
20 to like 22. He had the top 5 empty, and then he had them down below that. Now normally they do it the other way around. They fill the top ones and leave the bottom ones empty for spares. So, but he writes on his labels. He writes 1, which was like 5. And he's got it labeled like 1, kitchen or whatever it was. It was labeled properly, but they were in the wrong order in the box.
Nothing like confusing the homeowner.
It confused the homeowner. It confused the handyman.
Yeah.
I figured it out. It only took me about a second to figure it out. I'm like, well, he labeled it right. He just didn't put it in with the corresponding number. So we went and changed all the numbers on his tags because they were right.
Right.
But we changed the numbers. So we put 5 with 5 instead of 1 with 5, crazy stuff like that. But it's really, really helpful because, John, is there anything, if you turn a breaker off on your electronics, is that a good idea?
Well, to your point, no. I mean, you just don't want to start flipping
switches is bad.
anymore.
It's bad.
Not with all the computer gear you have. With all your
Electronics in general.
in your home, your TVs, your AV receivers, and things like that. Your computers. You don't want to start flicking things on and off. So it is frustrating that even I when I look at my breaker box, I'm gonna label it so I can actually see it. As I'm getting older, it's like, oh my God, what this? Whoever labeled this is getting smaller and smaller.
What are they? Do you think we're like 20?
Right.
Jeez, don't they know there's old people
Right.
there? So
Hit that son of a bitch with my cane.
You're killing me here. You're killing me. So what else would we talk about? We actually published an article, John. It's called The Home Maintenance Log. And one thing, again, that's at handymanprosradioshow.com. It's in the blog section. But you can create a log, a real simple log. And you can just put a real simple log. You can mark all this stuff down. We're actually going to create a product coming up soon that'll have that plus more on it. But there's an article out there on having it all in one place, keeping it organized, and keeping all your manuals together. Because one of the other things is, back to John's point about when you're trying to fix that appliance, when you're trying to fix your refrigerator, it's really helpful to know what year that model is, what the year and model number are. Because trying to find parts for something, good luck.
Right. That's right.
Good luck.
And it's just like when well, we were both in aviation, and I tell you, having a logbook, and it's what you had to have, right? Either as a you're as a pilot or when I was in maintenance, we always had logbooks, and it's always nice to know. Although on that side it was required by law, but
yes.
on your home, it would be nice to know the status of your let's say your appliances and other
when
things.
Did you buy it?
When did you buy it? When was it fixed? If it was ever fixed, what's when all these kind of things start to add up, and you can start to put kind of a story together after you kind of look through that after a while, and hopefully be able to plan a little bit more effectively.
Ooh, planning
Wow. For the new year.
Awesome. You think? Awesome. Well, do we have anything else for today, John?
Nope. I think that we'll expand on this in another show, but it's a good start to the new year.
It's a good start to the new year. From the email bag at questions@handymanprosradioshow.com, we received an email from Preston B. Preston has a question about painting. He just bought a home. It was a former rental house, was built in 1960, and he was wondering what tips that we could give him about painting. He did mention that the house has an odor, said it kind of smells. John, what sort of things would you recommend for Preston?
Yeah, I think anybody that's been in this situation, the first thing you want to do is to
determine if it's a dead body?
Yeah. Yeah, get it out of there quick.
And get the dead body out of there quick.
Right.
If it's buried under the house, you might want to call the police. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Yes, officer, he was dead when I got there. And I think anybody in a situation would have to, look and say, look around and say, man, if you got to seal up those walls. With a primer, like a Kills or something like that, where it really does the job. Like I said, I've been in some of these older homes, And there's a lot of reasons why there's odor in the home.
Well,
And because of the architecture and the older timbers and things like that are in there. But the first best step is to, and I think we've both done it in our past, is to seal up the walls with a primer like that.
well, so this is just kind of a historical perspective, right? His house was built in 1960, so it's over 50, almost 60 years old at this point. Well, actually, it is 60 years old because this is 2020. Wow. Ugh, geez, that makes me feel old. Anyway, back in 1960, people still smoked, right?
Yes.
A lot more than they do now.
Yes.
And as you know, or if you don't know, smoke is it permeates everything, gets into everything. And that's just one thing. If you think about it over a 60-year period, what's happened in that house. I know that this particular rental house, from what he told me, he said there were dogs in there.
Yeah.
Because they found enough dog hair to make a whole dog coat, And so anyway, there's a lot of odors that are going on in there, and there's a lot of things, and definitely put some Kills or put some kind of primer, sealing primer in there.
The other thing I would recommend that anybody in that situation, especially if and you brought up something that's really important, is that when people smoke in your home and things like that, if you buy a home, and it really will permeate into the ceiling.
Yes.
And what you can do, what I would recommend you do, is to get an ozone generator and put it in there for a couple hours.
Yeah, they work really well.
And ozone does not like being ozone. So chemically, it doesn't like that. So it likes to seek things out and go back to oxygen. And when it does that, it destroys odors itself. So it's an O3, and then it likes to get rid of that, and that works really good.
Really, really well. So, so there's a couple of tips. So one is put an ozone generator in your house, let it run for, a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. You
don't have to let it run, but it's kind of funny. I'm glad you brought that up. It's kind of funny. You got to put it in there for, a while, and you'll see the recommendations on how long to put it in there, and there's all kinds of little tricks to this thing to make it work really well. But I'm glad you brought that up, because it's going to take, and I'll mention that it's going to take probably a day for really that ozone to get out of there.
Right.
A day or so. It's going to stink, but it smells like after a lightning storm.
Right.
Because
that's what ozone is.
Yeah, it's a very clean, but you can get overwhelmed. So all your plants, pets, everything have to be out of there. It'll kill everything. So you just want to get out of there and just.
So when you go on vacation,
but it actually does destroy odors, not just covers them up.
Right. It's an odor destroyer. So do that, and then probably the second thing to do is put is prime and paint, but prime first with Kills or with some kind of stain blocking, odor blocking.
Correct.
There's plenty of products out there. Kills is probably the biggest number, the biggest one that we've seen, and in this case too, I would say paint everything, including the ceiling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, paint everything, including the ceiling. All the trim, all that. Make sure, don't overlook things like the closets, because those closets, John, how many times you painted your closets?
I haven't.
There you go. Case proven.
I haven't.
And so in a 60-year-old house, it really, if you think about it, it's just one place where all that it's just been a repository for stuff. And I'll bet the paint in those closets is probably 60 years old. I bet nobody's ever painted them. Or if they has, in 60 years, it's been painted once, maybe twice. Paint it all. Paint it all. Yeah. I mean everything, and prime it and paint it, and cover it all. It blocks the stains, it blocks the odors. It really, really helps. It's night and day. Any other tips for Mr. Preston?
No, I think Preston. Good luck with that job, and I think from the tips we gave you, I think you should be in good shape.
All right, folks. If you have a question that you would like us to answer here at the Handyman Pros Radio Show, again, it's questions@handymanprosradioshow.com, and we will put you on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.